So I'm like, okay, did she kill her brother? What's going on here? What's going on here? So the author was able to just grab me there, and that's how she grabbed me to the very end. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Boketefe. Welcome to my review of the day. Today I'm going to be reviewing Tsitsi Dangarembga's book Nervous Conditions. This book was first published in the year 1988. You know, as a book lover, I cannot believe that I have never read Nervous Conditions before. I actually got to know about this book on Bookstagram when we're doing this. I've forgotten what it was about, but it's actually something that bookstagrammers, African bookstagrammers, came together and they were actually sharing African books. And I got to know about nervous conditions. I got to know about Shintu, or is it Kintu? Kintu. I got to know about a lot of African books, and I decided that okay, I'm going to read these books one day. Actually, I started reading Moneyball Body first. Then I started to read Nervous Conditions because I got to find out that it's actually a trilogy of this main character, Tambudzai. So I decided to read Nervous Conditions because I was curious that, okay, Nervous Conditions, what's it going to be about? Now I'm finding out that it's actually the first book by Zimbabwean written in English language. And this book actually won a Commonwealth Prize. It has received a lot of nods from literary giants, including our very own Chinua Achebe. Real Tsitsi Dangarembga is a genius. To think that Nervous Conditions is actually her first book. You know, there's some people that are just once in a lifetime people, and there's some books that are just once in a lifetime. And Nervous Conditions is one of those books. So the title of the book, Nervous Conditions, I gathered that it's actually from Frantz Fanon's Rest of the Earth, the introduction of Frantz Fanon, Rest of the Earth, where he said, I'm just going to read it out. He said, the condition of native is a nervous condition. So that's where the author got the title Nervous Conditions. So when you think of nervous conditions, you say, okay, why would someone write about a people and their conditions being something that's nervous? So first thing that comes to my head is, okay, maybe the people are not living well, maybe the poverty in the land, maybe their lifestyle, their tradition, their customs. That's what just came to my mind. So we're going to get to the plot of the book. The book is centered on Tambudzai, and the book opens a very interesting way. Like, I really love when books open in a way that you're like, okay, what is this book about? And you just adjust yourself so that you can get all the details. So the book starts with Tambudzai saying this. I'm just going to read it out because I wrote it down. I was not sorry when my brother died, nor am I apologizing for my callousness, as you may define it, my lack of feeling. And we can, from the opening lines, you can tell that she said, as you may define it. So she's actually talking to us, the readers, that, okay, I'm here to tell you a story, and I do not really care about what you have to say or if you're going to be passing judgment, but you have to hear the story anyway because it's my story and because it's the truth. So she was trying to just say, okay, this is a story, this is my story, and I'm just going to hold your hands through it. So you're going to be seeing a story from my perspective. And even though you're going to be passing judgment, it's fine, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway because it's my story and it's the truth. So just sit back and relax. So there was really no need trying to understand the characters in this book because you as reader, it's your job to just sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. That was just simply all. Just really see things from that perspective. That's your job as a reader, to just see things from these people's perspective. These people were talking about the book is actually set in modern day Zimbabwe in the 1960s. This was was during the colonial era, and this was a time where a lot of things were happening. So there are a lot of topics that springs up from this narrative, topics bordering on racism, racial differences, education, educating a girl child, poverty, patriarchy, just a lot of this tale just spawning or churning out a lot of topics that we can talk about. And you know me, I love books like this. Tambudzai is a character that you can't forget. How witty she is, how observant she is, how she's really smart. I love her sense of humor as well. The way she told stories, like she's actually telling you the story and she's serious, but it's kind of funny. So there are scenes where you just chuckle because of how she describes things. So I really love Tambudzai, and I cannot wait to read the other books from the trilogy, which is the Book of North and this Moneyball Body. The Book of North was written in the year 2006. Then she went on to write this Moneyball Body recently. I think it was 2021. Yeah, so I really want to know how Tambudzai, how things went out, because you're already in love with this character. There's another, this kind of unforgettable characters. A good example of such unforgettable character is Kambili in Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Purple Hibiscus, because I would really love to know how life turned out for Kambili, because those characters are just really interesting. I love their perspective. I love how they reason. I love how observant they were, how their mind worked. So Tambudzai is one of the kind of character that you'd really love. She was only 13 years old, and there was one thing she wanted, was she just wanted to be in school. And this was a time where female education was unnecessary to a lot of people. Like, why are you taking, why do you want to go to school? Like her father said to her, I'm just going to read out what her father said to her when she was actually feeling blue about going to school, and she was really determined to go to school. But her instead of Tambudzai, her brother Namo was one that her rich uncle was willing to take to school. Get all those part later, but this is what her father had to say. He said to her, he replies, "Can you cook books and feed them to your husband?" So this just tells you everything you need to know, that okay, Tambudzai's education was unnecessary. Her mother was not educated. There were people that were not educated around them. So the life for women were just getting married, giving birth, being a good wife, growing the vegetables, being able to just do womanly things, female things. So that was just what was necessary for the girls then. There's really no option, no choice. And Tambudzai wanted to go to school. That was one of the reasons why she was really pissed at her brother, because her brother had that patriarchal thing imbibed in his head, that women are less and women have to behave a certain way. So that was part of the reason why she was really pissed at him. So when he went to the mission school, and he was really mean to her at a point where she was really determined to go to school. So, and the way he was now acting after he went to school, so she didn't really feel his death like that, because she just closed her mind that okay, this guy, this is how this boy is treating me right now. So that's why her opening line was a bit harsh. Doesn't mean that she doesn't love her brother. Yeah, this is me trying to defend Tambudzai, but it doesn't mean she didn't like her brother. She was just really mad at him, and she was only 13. When you're 13, there's some kind of things you just want, and when you can't have it, you are actually very pissed. And that was the case of Tambudzai. And it was actually sad that someone had to die. When we say these things and we laugh about them, like, okay, who died that made you manager? So someone had to die for Tambudzai to go to school, and that was her brother. Her brother's fate met with a terminal illness, and he died. So her uncle, Baba Mukuru, who was like the patriarch of the family, he was the educated one. He was one who had gone to South Africa for training. He was one who had gone to London with his family. He was just really providing for the external family. So he said, okay, we have to elevate this family. We have to learn the ways of the white man so I can survive on earth. So he said, okay, since Namo died, let us take Tambu for short. Tambudzai is Tambu for short. So he took Tambu with him to his house in another side of Zimbabwe, so she could get the education she needed. Here she grew closer to her cousin Yansha, and she was able to observe the life in this household and compared it to her life back home. Yeah, so that was basically it. And with the way she was observing and comparing things, learning and unlearning things, she got to understand that her education came at a price, and she just got to understand a lot of things that okay about her gender, about race, about a lot of nervous conditions around her. So there are a lot of themes in this book that really, really are really important even to today. to present times. This book was written in 1988, but it's still very, very relevant in present times. We're talking about the I call it the inconvenience of femaleness. So there are a lot of people that might be defensive with this topic, and I feel like, okay, maybe this person I've never really observed, or maybe this person doesn't really understand what other people are talking about, but these things are real and they are true. That's why I love stories like this, and I urge people to read all the time, because yeah, people are talking about these stories, movies, people are talking about it on stage and all that, but books really tell you, because you are listening to this person's story that is actually true. There are a lot of times in the book where it was like an inconvenience to just be female. Your your monthly cycle, in fact, your entire existence as a female, it seems like you are just a nuisance in society, and you're only good for childbearing, growing vegetables, and doing the minor chores. You cannot really expand yourself. You can't really think outside of the box. And there are a lot of characters to prove that in the book. So this was what her mother said to her when she asked her mother a question about my guru. So my guru is the wife to Baba Mukuru. This lady is actually educated, but this lady had to dumb it down all the time in this book. She was quiet. She was tending to her husband. I'm not saying tending to your husband is bad though, but in this case, a lot of women do it. Like, okay, yes, even with all your education, because that was her mother was trying to tell her that, okay, because she told her mother that, okay, my guru is educated. Why is the case for us different? And she was like, oh, even my guru that is educated, she still cooks for her husband. She still knows how to grow vegetables and all that, because that is the most important thing about being a woman. And she had this thing to say about my guru. She said, and Tambu's mother said this to her: this business of womanhood is a heavy burden. Main word there, burden. She said, how could it not be? Aren't we the ones who bear children? When it is like that, you can't just decide today, I want to do this. Tomorrow, I want to do that. The next day, I want to be educated. When there are sacrifices to be made, you are the one who has to make them. And these things are not easy. You have to start learning them early, from a very early age. The earlier, the better, so that it is easy later on. Easy, as if it is ever easy. And these days, it is the worst, with the poverty of blackness on one side and the weight of womanhood on the other. Iowa, what will help you, my child, is to learn to carry your burdens with strength. There's just a lot of topics on gender in this book. Women are sidelined. We see the case of my gurus and Baba Mukuru, but my guru have to dumb it down all the time. We see how much Baba Mukuru was mad at his daughter Yansha for just being female. Like, you have to act a certain way. He was really worried about his daughter. Why are you worried about her? This girl's doing well in school. Although yes, her rebellion had a lot of like, don't know, plugs. She was rebelling for a lot of reasons, but most of my Baba Mukuru's concern was that, okay, this girl is badly behaved. Who is going to get married to her? Those kind of thoughts. Then we also see it in Lucia's attitude. So Lucia is actually the sister to Tambu's mother. She's a character that came really late in the book, but from her story, we can still see that gender bias. She was easily slut shamed in this book. Herself, Yansha, they're easily slut shamed in this book. They say, oh, she has a lot of lovers and everything. But the beautiful thing is that this lady, Lucia, was able to rise above it all. She sent herself to school, and she refused to just be the bare minimum that women should be. That was something that Tambu was actually fighting for. She wanted more. She just knew that there was more. And because she told her, she was like, okay, we're poor, but Baba Mukuru is rich too, and he looks just like us. Okay, Mama, you are not educated, but my guru is educated. So that she just knew that there was more, and that was what she wanted. So that was the case for Tambu. And even when, okay, her parents said, we can't send you to school because the man, Baba Mukuru, is not going to pay for your fees. he can only just cater for the boy. She said she needed seed money to start. She needed seed. She needed to start growing maize that she would sell, so that she could pay for her fees. And that was something that was really admirable. I really loved it. When I read that part in the book, I was like, yes, Tambu, yes, go for it, go for it. And I was really glad that at the end of the day, Tambu went to school. Although they were really priced, there was a lot of things that, or a lot of hurdles that she would have to cross, a lot of things she would have to learn and unlearn. But I was glad that she was able to go to school, establishing the fact that it's important to take girls to school. I wonder who started that idea that women shouldn't go to school. I wonder. Move on to another theme in this book, and that's black tax. Black tax is something, if you don't know what black tax is, I'm just going to put it out roughly. So black tax is a tax where that actually among the people of African people, or maybe African Americans, or just black people. So this black tax is something that, okay, there's somebody in the family that excelled, so it's his duty to take care of the entire family. Some people actually do it in a way that, okay, I want everybody to leave that circle of poverty. Some people are just okay with taking care of their family members. So for in the case of Baba Mukuru was a certain way. He loved that when people are just adoring him and, oh yes, thank you, Baba Mukuru. So them, because even Tambu described it as, okay, you now like feign humility, like, oh, no, don't thank me, those kind of things. So black tax is something that is really real, and I felt bad for Baba Mukuru most of the time, because he was willing to really just pick up the bill. Okay, you're going for Christmas holiday, you have to take food stuff and everything, and my guru is in charge of cooking. This woman didn't enjoy this thing at all, and the family back home, they just wait, like, okay, give us food, okay, come back again tomorrow. That was just what was happening. But at least Baba Mukuro was willing to actually, like, okay, saying, okay, I can't be the only one in this family, take care of everybody. At least, if his plan was that if Namu, if he, at least one person in the family, if one person can be good, the other people can eat, the other people can survive. So you're going to be surviving off one person. That's what black tax is. And this was how Tambu, our protagonist, described it. She said, Baba Mukuru always provided not only the Christmas meal, but Christmas itself for as many of the clan that gathered for as long as they gathered. We did not have Father Christmas, but we had Baba Mukuru. This part really made me laugh, because I kind of felt bad for Baba Mukuru most times. And at the same time, I felt like, okay, you were never ready to leave this poverty at all. That black tax thing is terrible in this book. It just showed that, okay, just leeches, like sucking you out and everything. There was a part where my guru was actually frustrated, and she said that she's actually bringing some to the table as well, but he spent everything on his external family. Then we also have the theme of family, just that family bond that the family shared. It was really nice. I really admired Baba Mukuru for taking his brother's children as his. They were never maltreated. They were never mistreated. They were treated just like he treated Nyansha and Chido. That's exactly how they were treated. And that family, that clannish, or that bond of family was really something that was displayed in this book. Another very salient theme in this book is the question of identity, and this is closely tied to just racial identity and all of that. So in this book, the people spoke Shona, and there was a time in this book where they were just living their simple life. The Baba Makuru's children would come over to the village, and they would just play in the river, and everything was really beautiful, and the children could actually speak Shona. Then at a point, Baba Mukuru and my guru had to relocate to London for a while to further their studies, and the children were taken along with them. So when they returned, they were kind of new. When these kids returned, they did not really know where they fit in anymore. First the Europeans would never accept them as, okay, you are very Europeanized and all that. But their own people were telling them, oh, you're speaking only English, you can't speak Shona anymore. It was really frustrating for the children. So they didn't really know where to stand. Even in school, Nyansha battled that a lot. And there was a time where Tam was also judging her cousin for that. But not until she actually moved to the house that she got to understand and relate with Yansha. She never even got to understand that Yansha has a very beautiful mind, a mind that she likes to flex her thinking. So she even confessed in the book that she loved talking to Yansha because Yansha made her think and she liked thinking. And it's bad enough, she said severely, when a country gets colonized. But when the people do as well, that's the end. Really, that's the end. So these people are conflicted. Okay, in order to survive in this world, they had to go to school. They had to learn the way of the white man, just so that they can make ends meet, so they can live this really nervous conditions. And Nyansha is actually pissed that, okay, she doesn't like this, that they are living there. She kind of likes the new ways, but at the same time, she doesn't really like the old ways. So everybody's just kind of conflicted. Maguru is saying, okay, people, you have to go to school so I can do better. But at the same time, he doesn't want his daughter to leave her old ways, to forget about Shona, because there were many times where Yansha was, and his son Tushide was accused of being too Europeanized. But at the same time, you have to go to these European schools. So they were just really conflicted. When Yansha had issues dealing with her mental health, Tambu's mother had diagnosis. She said, oh, it's because she's too Europeanized. So there was really this question of identity and racial differences. People were confused. There was a lot of confusion in this book. Okay, am I Shona enough? Am I too local? Just learning and unlearning things, because even Tambo, she got to understand its disparities when she got to her uncle's house. Then that was even just the stepping stone, because she also got admission into a higher school where the missionaries were also there, and she got there and they had a different room for Africans, like a different dormitory for Africans. So those disparities, the new sports, everything was just so confusing and overwhelming. That theme in the book that was closely tied to the inconvenience of feminines is slut shaming as well. So there's a lot of slut shaming in this book. You had to do this. Do you know how girls are taught shame? Because you have to be a stellar citizen for your husband in future. So there's a way you have to act, you have to carry yourself a certain way, you have to learn a lot of things so that you can be a good woman. So there was a time where Yansha got into a disagreement with her father, and the third party there, who is Tambo and also a storyteller, this was she had to say. Baba Mukuru condemning Nyansha to whoredom, making her a victim of her femaleness, just as I had felt victimized at home in the days when Namo went to school and I grew my maize. The victimization I saw was universal. It didn't depend on poverty, on lack of education, or on tradition. It didn't depend on any of the things I had thought it depended on. Men took it everywhere with them. Even heroes like Baba Mokoro did it. And that was the problem. You had to admit that Nyansha had no tact. You had to admit she was altogether too volatile and too strong-willed. You couldn't ignore the fact that she had no respect for Baba Mukuru when she ought to have had lots of it. But what I didn't like was the way all the conflicts came back to this question of femaleness. Femaleness as opposed and inferior to maleness. So I told you that this book highly, highly talks about gender inequalities a lot. And from that piece or excerpt I read, you can tell that this book is a masterpiece and you have to read it to enjoy it. As like, I even sitting here talking about the book, I feel like, oh no, I have to go and continue reading the Book of Notes, because it's just something that you just relax and you enjoy the story. And like, because in this, despite the fact that there are terms in this book that people are not really familiar with, me, I am not really familiar with Zimbabwe culture and traditions, their titles, their exclamations. Like, you'll notice there's only a part in this book where I read and there was an exclamation that was Zimbabwean, but it didn't really matter because there are a lot of things like that in a book. Their titles, their food, exclamation, the names, they are kind of new to you. But the beauty of it all is that all this, they're important, but it's fine. because you're getting to learn something new, and you're getting to understand in your culture. And I actually love the fact that the author was unapologetically Zimbabwean. She put in those words without even trying to explain what they mean or anything. This is she's just telling a story. She's just telling a story, and you as a reader, it's your job to learn and understand and see it from a new point of view. Brilliant. This book is raking in solid 5 stars, because this kind of books once in a lifetime, and you just have to love these nervous conditions by Tsitsi Dangarembga. And with that, I'm drawing a curtain for the day. I'm going to be coming back to you with the Book of Not and this Moneyball Body, and I do hope that you'd read Nervous Conditions by Tsitsi Dangarembga. Thank you very much. Goodbye.